I'll never forget the moment my Aunt Linda told me I was written out of my grandmother's will. She said it with such satisfaction, such cruel pleasure in her eyes, that I felt my entire world shatter. "You get nothing," she whispered, leaning close enough that I could smell her expensive perfume. Grandma made it very clear. Nothing for the ungrateful grandchild. But here's the thing about secrets. They have a way of revealing themselves when you least expect it. And my grandmother? She was the keeper of the biggest secret of all. Let me take you back to where this story really begins, because what happened in that lawyer's office 3 months ago changed everything I thought I knew about my family, about loyalty, and about the grandmother who raised me when no one else would. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how my family tried to erase me from existence, only to discover that the woman they underestimated had been 10 steps ahead of them all along. This is about betrayal, yes, but it's also about justice. The kind of justice that doesn't come from anger or revenge, but from love so deep and strategic that it took years to unfold. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been told you weren't good enough, or if you've ever wondered whether the people who hurt you would ever face the consequences of their actions, then this story is for you. Stay with me, because what happened next will restore your faith in the idea that good people, even when they're gone, can still protect the ones they love. The day started like any other funeral. Rain tapping against the church windows. The smell of lilies filling the air. My grandmother's casket surrounded by flowers from people who claimed they loved her but hadn't visited her in years. I sat in the back row, alone, while my Aunt Linda, Uncle Robert, and my cousins occupied the front pews like royalty surveying their kingdom. They didn't even turn around to acknowledge me. I should have seen it coming. For the past 5 years, ever since I'd chosen to stay with Grandma instead of moving away with my mother after my parents' divorce, my extended family had treated me like I was invisible. Like I was somehow less than them because I didn't have their money, their connections, their perfectly curated lives. But Grandma saw me. She always saw me. And as I sat there in that church watching them play the role of devastated family members, I had no idea that my grandmother had been watching them too. Watching, planning, and preparing for this exact moment. The reading of the will was scheduled for the following week. I almost didn't go. Let me tell you about my grandmother, Margaret Eleanor Thompson. She wasn't just any grandmother. She was the woman who built a modest fortune from absolutely nothing, who turned a small bakery into a chain of successful restaurants across 3 states, who invested wisely and lived simply despite having more money than most people realized. She was also the woman who took me in when I was 13 years old and my whole life was falling apart. My parents' divorce was ugly. The kind of ugly that makes the evening news. Dad had embezzled money from his company, Mom had been having an affair with his business partner, and in the middle of all that chaos was me, a confused kid who just wanted someone to tell her that everything would be okay. Grandma didn't just tell me it would be okay. She showed me. She gave me her spare bedroom, enrolled me in a good school, taught me how to bake her famous cinnamon rolls every Sunday morning, and listened to me cry about my parents without ever saying a bad word about either of them. She was patient, kind, and present in a way that no one else in my family had ever been. But my Aunt Linda? He hated it. She'd always been the golden child, the one who married rich, who lived in the big house on the hill, who made sure everyone knew about her charity galas and country club memberships. She'd spent years cultivating a relationship with Grandma that I now realize was entirely transactional. Visits on birthdays. Phone calls asking for small loans that were never repaid. Comments about how she'd take care of Grandma when the time came. Uncle Robert was no better. He'd burned through 2 inheritances from his ex-wives and was constantly trying to get Grandma to invest in his business opportunities that always seemed to fail within months. He treated Grandma's home like a bank and her love like a commodity he could cash in whenever he needed it. And my cousins Jennifer and Michael had learned from their parents. They visited Grandma only when they needed something. Money for college. A down payment on a car. Connections for a job. They took and took, always with a smile, always with promises they'd never keep. Meanwhile, I was there. Every day after school. Every weekend. Every holiday. I was there when Grandma got pneumonia and spent a week in the hospital. I was there when she fell in the garden and sprained her ankle. I was there reading to her, cooking with her, just sitting quietly while she did her crossword puzzles. I didn't do it for money. I did it because I loved her and because she'd saved me when I needed saving. But apparently that made me the villain in my family's story. The freeloader. The one who was taking advantage of an elderly woman. The tension started building about 2 years before Grandma died. That's when Linda began her campaign to poison everyone against me. It started with small comments. "Sarah's still living with Mom? At her age?" Or, "I worry that Mom's being taken advantage of. You know how young people can be." She'd say these things at family gatherings I wasn't invited to, in phone calls I wasn't part of, slowly building a narrative that I was somehow manipulating Grandma. The truth was the opposite. I tried to move out several times. I'd gotten a job, saved money, looked at apartments. But each time, Grandma would get sick or have a fall or just need someone there, and I couldn't bring myself to leave her. Eventually, I realized that being there for her was exactly where I was supposed to be. But Linda spun it differently. According to her, I was living rent-free, controlling Grandma's finances, and isolating her from the real family. None of it was true, but she told the story so often and so convincingly that even I started to doubt myself. Then came the incident that changed everything. 6 months before Grandma died, I came home to find Linda and Robert in Grandma's study, going through her papers. They'd let themselves in with a spare key Linda had copied years ago. When I asked what they were doing, Linda turned to me with such venom in her eyes that I actually stepped back. "We're protecting our mother's interests," she said coldly, "from people who would take advantage of her diminished capacity." Diminished capacity. Those words hung in the air like poison. Grandma was sharper than all of us combined. She still balanced her own checkbook, managed her investments, and beat me at chess regularly. But Linda had planted that seed, and now she was trying to make it grow. I asked them to leave. They refused. The argument escalated until Grandma came home from her doctor's appointment and found us all shouting at each other in her study. I'll never forget the look on her face. Not anger. Not confusion. Just a deep, profound sadness that her own children would do this. She asked them to leave quietly. They did, but not before Linda turned to me and said, "You'll regret this. When she's gone, you'll have nothing." Nothing. That night, Grandma asked me to sit with her in the kitchen. She made us tea the way she always did when something serious needed to be discussed. She held my hand across the table and said something I didn't understand at the time. "Don't worry about them, sweetheart. I've taken care of everything. You'll understand soon enough." I thought she meant she'd talk to them, smooth things over. I had no idea she meant something else entirely. The lawyer's office smelled like old books and furniture polish. Mr. Hendricks had been Grandma's attorney for 30 years, and he looked at me with kindness as I took my seat in the back of the conference room. Linda, Robert, Jennifer, and Michael sat at the large mahogany table like they were at a board meeting about to discuss a merger. Linda didn't even try to hide her smile. Mr. Hendricks cleared his throat and opened the will. "What happened next will stay with me for the rest of my life. I, Margaret Eleanor Thompson, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament." Standard opening. Linda nodded approvingly. "To my daughter Linda and my son Robert, I leave the sum of $5,000 each." You could hear a pin drop. Linda's face went white. "What?" she whispered. "To my grandchildren Jennifer and Michael, I leave the sum of $2,000 each." Michael stood up. "This is a mistake. This has to be a mistake." Mr. Hendricks continued calmly. "To my beloved granddaughter Sarah, who has shown me true love and devotion, who has sacrificed her own opportunities to ensure my comfort and happiness, who has demonstrated the kind of character I always hoped to instill in my family, I leave the entirety of my estate." The room exploded. Linda was screaming about undue influence. Robert was demanding to see proof of Grandma's mental capacity. Jennifer was crying. Michael was threatening to sue. But Mr. Hendricks wasn't finished. "Mrs. Thompson anticipated there might be questions about her decision," he said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "She prepared something she wanted me to share." He pulled out a laptop and turned it toward us. On the screen was my grandmother sitting in that same office, clearly recorded just months before her death. "If you're watching this," Grandma's voice filled the room and everyone went silent, "then I'm gone and you're probably upset about my decisions. Linda, Robert, I want you to know that I loved you both. I gave you every advantage in life. Good educations. Support when you needed it. Opportunities that many people never receive." Her image on the screen looked directly at the camera. "But love isn't just something you receive. Something you give. And for the last years of my life, only one person truly gave me love without expecting anything in return. Sarah didn't visit me because she wanted my money. She visited me because she wanted my company. She didn't help me because she thought it would pay off someday. She helped me because she cared. Linda was crying now, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage and humiliation. If you're enjoying this story and want to hear more real-life family dramas, consider subscribing to our channel. These stories matter and your support helps us share them. Grandma's video continued, and what she said next revealed just how deeply she'd understood what was happening in her own family. Linda, I know what you've been telling people. That Sarah was manipulating me. That I wasn't in my right mind. That she was isolating me from family. Grandma's voice was steady, calm, but firm. I want to be absolutely clear. I had Dr. Morrison conduct a full cognitive evaluation 3 months ago. I passed with flying colors. Those documents are attached to this will. I knew exactly what I was doing. On screen, Grandma leaned forward slightly. I also want you to know that I was aware of every loan you never repaid, Robert. Every time you asked me to invest in your schemes. I kept records of everything. 50,000 here, 30,000 there. Over the years, you received more than $300,000 from me. I never expected it back because you're my son and I loved you. But I did expect gratitude, respect, and honesty. Robert's face had gone from red to ashen gray. And Linda, those charity events you invited me to? I went because I thought you wanted to spend time with me. It took me longer than it should have to realize you just wanted me there so your friends could see my name on the donor list. You used our relationship as social currency. The attorney handed out folders to Linda and Robert. Inside were detailed spreadsheets of every financial transaction, every loan, every time they'd used Grandma's name or reputation for their own benefit. I'm not leaving you penniless, Grandma continued on the video. The $5,000 each represents exactly the amount you spent on me in gifts, visits, and genuine care over the last 5 years. I calculated it precisely. 2 birthday gifts. 3 Christmas presents. 1 Mother's Day brunch. That's what our relationship was worth to you in tangible terms. So that's what you're receiving. It was brutal. It was calculated. It was absolutely deserved. Sarah, Grandma's face softened on the screen and I felt tears streaming down my face. You never asked me for anything, yet you gave me everything that mattered. You gave me your time, your patience, your love. You read to me when my eyes were tired. You held my hand when I was scared at the hospital. You laughed at my terrible jokes and pretended my cooking was still good even when we both knew I was losing my touch. She smiled, that beautiful warm smile I'd seen thousands of times across her kitchen table. The money isn't a reward, sweetheart. It's a tool. Use it to build the life you put on hold to take care of me. Go back to school. Start that business you always dreamed about. Travel. Fall in love. Live fully. That's all I ever wanted for you. The legal battle lasted 6 months. Linda and Robert hired lawyers, contested the will, demanded investigations. They threw everything they had at trying to overturn Grandma's decision. But Grandma had been too thorough. She documented everything. Medical evaluations confirming her mental capacity. Video recordings of her explaining her reasoning. Detailed financial records. Even character references from her doctors, friends, and neighbors, all testifying that I'd been a devoted granddaughter and that she'd made her decision with full awareness and intent. In the end, the judge upheld the will completely. Linda and Robert got their $5,000 each. The cousins got their $2,000. And I inherited everything else. The properties, the investments, the restaurant businesses. It was more money than I'd ever imagined. But here's what the money couldn't buy. The look on my family's faces when they realized they'd lost. Not just the inheritance but their own mother's respect. Grandma's video had laid bare their selfishness, their manipulation, their transactional approach to family. Everyone in that courtroom saw them for who they really were. Linda stopped speaking to me entirely. Robert moved to another state. Jennifer and Michael sent apologetic emails months later trying to rebuild bridges, but the damage was done. They'd shown me who they were when they thought it didn't matter. I sold most of the properties and used the money exactly as Grandma had hoped. I went back to school and got my degree in social work. I started a foundation in Grandma's name that helps kids from broken homes, kids like I was at 13 who just need someone to see them and believe in them. I kept one property though, Grandma's house. I couldn't bear to sell it. Sometimes I sit in the kitchen where we used to have tea, and I swear I can still smell her cinnamon rolls baking. The inheritance wasn't really about money. It was about validation. It was Grandma's way of telling me and telling everyone else that love matters more than blood. That showing up matters more than showing off. That being present is worth more than any amount of money you could ever leave someone in a will. 3 years have passed since that day in the lawyer's office. I'm 32 now and I've built a life that Grandma would be proud of. The foundation helps dozens of kids every year. I've bought a small house of my own. I've even started dating again, something I'd put off for so long while caring for Grandma. But the biggest change isn't in my bank account or my career. It's in how I understand family now. Family isn't just the people you're related to by blood. It's the people who show up. It's the people who love you when you're difficult, who stay when things get hard, who see the best in you even when you can't see it yourself. Grandma taught me that, not with words but with actions. She showed up for me when I was 13 and broken. She stayed with me through teenage angst and young adult mistakes. She saw potential in me that I didn't see in myself. And in the end, she protected me one last time. Not from poverty or hardship, but from the people who would have made me feel small and unworthy. Her final act of love was ensuring I knew my worth and making sure everyone else knew it too. I think about Linda and Robert sometimes. I don't hate them. Mostly I feel sad for them. They had a mother who was extraordinary, who built something from nothing, who had so much wisdom and love to give. And they treated her like an A-team. They missed out on knowing her as a person because they were too busy calculating what they'd get when she died. They got exactly what they deserved, which ironically is exactly what they gave. If this story resonated with you, if you've experienced something similar in your own family, I hope you'll subscribe to hear more stories like this one. Sometimes we need to know we're not alone in these experiences. The last time I visited Grandma's grave, I brought cinnamon rolls from a bakery downtown. They weren't as good as hers, but I sat there beside her headstone and told her about the foundation, about the kids we've helped, about the life I'm building. And I said thank you. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for teaching me that real wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the lives we touch and the love we share. She said I'd understand soon enough. He was right. I understand now that her greatest gift wasn't the inheritance. It was the lesson that came with it. That we teach people how to treat us, and that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is walk away from those who don't value us, even when they're family. Especially when they're family.